Welcome to the Get Unbusy podcast. I'm your host, Kate Philpott, and this podcast is all about throwing your busy work out the window. You deserve to stay locked in on the parts of your business that light a fire under your hoo-ha, all right? The passion-driven freedom lifestyle, not being glued to your laptop every waking minute of the day. It's time to build a business that works for you, not one that works you into the ground. So, let's get unbusy, shall we? Hello and welcome back to the Get Unbusy podcast. We're going to do something a little different today, and I actually went through a few of the Q&As that I've got inside WorkSmart Academy. We have monthly Q&As in there. It used to be a live call, but now I do it as each Q&A is a mini training. And there's a whole Q&A database. So I've gathered 3 really juicy questions, and I have no doubt that these are going to be really helpful for you. We're going to be covering topics like what to do when everything is important and urgent, how to incorporate self-care into a high intensity week or month, and also what to do if you don't reach your top priority over and over again. If you don't reach your top priority in the week, do you continue to drag it into the next week, or are you picking something new to focus on? So these are really great questions, and if you join WorkSmart Academy, you get the opportunity to ask these questions, and I answer them in the last week of every single month. So if that sounds like a bit of you, then I'll see you in there. But otherwise, enjoy the mini Q&A. I'm so overwhelmed. I have so much to do, and everything is urgent. This is probably the most common productivity problem ever. We all are ambitious. We all have so much we want to do. And even when we free up time, we want to put more stuff in there because we really want to reach the goal. It's a lot, okay? When it really comes down to it, if we're talking about we've got a lot to do. I'm gonna take it kind of morbid here, but if you were diagnosed with a very intense illness tomorrow and you were in hospital and you only had the energy to do 1 hour of work a day, you'd have to get really good at prioritizing. Meaning, you'd have to get shit out of there and make some really tough decisions. And all that means is knowing what to say no to, but also the secret part, actually saying that no. You can know what to say no to, but if you're still doing everything or committing to everything, you're still going to be overwhelmed. Oh, hey Melinda, I constantly have too many on my to-do list, trying to be more realistic. Yeah, okay, well, you're in the right place. You're in the right conversation. This is one of those things, we all experience it, and it really is and here's an analogy that an old mentor of mine used to say is, if you were on a boat and the boat was leaking and you had all of these very valuable pieces of art, we're talking millions worth, and each piece is worth a lot of money, but they're weighing the boat down, you're going to be making some pretty quick decisions on what to throw out the side of the boat, because otherwise you're going to die. I think a big thing of it is surrender and acceptance. If you're only a little bit overwhelmed and you got a little bit too much to do, systemizing, prioritizing, doing everything that we talked about on Monday. But sometimes you just have to throw your hands up and be okay, well, I can't do all of this. I cannot, I don't know what part of me thought that I could commit to all of this stuff, but it's simply not possible. And when you accept that, it gets a lot easier to be okay, well, what can I do? Okay, well, I can do this one thing. I can make sure this, if I only do one of these things, this is my top priority. Great, I'll do that. Everything else is a bonus. Amazing. And it just gets a lot easier. So might be slightly different productivity advice, but still important. Still important. If we don't reach our top priority for the week, what do we do? This is a great one for self-awareness. And I'm going to be harsh on you. I'm going to bring a little bit of spice here. If that was your top priority, what the hell else were you doing? I'm sure you didn't do no work all week. I'm sure you didn't do 0. But if that was more important than everything else, why did the other things come before it? If the thought of, well, I didn't have time comes up in response to me saying that, I'm going to stop you right there. Okay, maybe you didn't have like a 4-hour block all at once on Monday and Wednesday and Friday, but there were definitely pockets in there where this thing that you have said is the most important task, your absolute top priority for the week, could have been tackled more than it was. If you did get the chance to use some smaller pockets of time here and there to make progress on it, that's great too. And sometimes, yeah, that priority will just have to be dragged by the kahunas into a second week. That is okay. Where it starts to become a problem is when you either drag it into the next week like 5 times and the next thing you know, you're like a month and a half down the line and you still haven't gotten it done, in which case I would be personally doing some journaling on what's the downside of getting this done? What are you afraid of if you do achieve this thing? You know, is there some fear of success coming up? Is there some fear of failure coming up? What do you feel like you'll have to give up if you achieve this thing, right? And after you've done some journaling on it, I'd recommend using EFT. Do some tapping on what came up. Or the other thing is that tends to happen, which can be a problem, is, you know, if this happens regardless of the task, if this happens you often, maybe you are genuinely overestimating how much you can actually get done in a week. Like, how many blocks of time do you actually have available to tackle a top priority task in the week? Obviously maximize that where possible, but similarly to the first question, you might just have a touch of time blindness, in which case I'd be doing what I recommended in the training on Monday, where you write down the estimated time, do the task, track how long it took, and then write down how long it actually took. You might start to notice patterns, and that gets super helpful when you're moving through future weeks and you're planning your weeks and deciding how many tasks you can actually take on without shit hitting the fan and your own productivity taking a nosedive. But you could be in a situation where you know that this is the one top priority in the week, but you also have maybe too many other little tasks, or maybe they're not little, just too many tasks in the rest of your week, and you're like, I've spent all of this other time focusing on this one thing, but I have all of these other tasks that are piling up. Oh, I'm just gonna get some of those done because I'll get some quick wins and build some momentum. And like, yeah, I'm all for the momentum, but at the same time, if something is your top priority and you're claiming it to be absolute top priority, maybe that is your top priority. And prioritization is all about deciding what comes first, like what you actually work through first. Guys, I'm also gonna just plug the priority game. I use this all the time. Oh, it's so fun. Like, I actually sometimes I'm like, I'm happy that I have loads to choose from right now, loads of tasks, because I get to put it in this thing. It's kind of like a bracket, you know, like a bracket for, I think they do it for American football. You basically make your tasks go head to head and fight each other to the death. And you end up with the one most important task that beat all the rest of them. And then, yeah, you're probably going to get more than one task done. So you're going to get that one done, and then you're going to move to what's in the next column. And then you're going to move to what's in the next, you know, and you might not get to all the ones right at the end, and that's fine. This is what I'm saying. Prioritization, it's all about the order of doing things, doing the right things at the right times. I'm a bit intimidated by the thought of a high intensity month. How do I incorporate self-care in regularly? To avoid running myself into the ground. First things first, it's completely normal to feel a little bit daunted by the concept of a high impact month, a high intensity month. So absolutely it is important to intentionally weave self-care into the plan. I think by not doing it, it's kind of like you're raw dogging it and you're kind of hoping for the best. You're hoping that your energy is going to be good the whole time. You're hoping that you're not going to be woken up in the middle of the night by your dog barking and needing to go out and poop. You can tell I'm speaking from experience with that, because I have an old dog and she has an upset stomach sometimes. And funnily enough, it only ever happens in the middle of the night. I want you to get clarity on what self-care actually means for you. Because if you have self-care in your calendar or you have it in your to-do list, it's too vague and you'll probably skip it. I've done it. Sometimes I see something in my calendar, I'm like, okay, well, how do I actually start this? Like, what actually does this mean? Like, actually, another example, study hour. I have been incorporating a study hour every single day. Well, 6 days a week. I'm such a nerd with this stuff. But I did out a curriculum for myself with like multiple subjects. So business, productivity, Spanish, Polish, finances, like investing, and YouTube. I think that's it. Oh, and EFT, because I have an EFT certification course that I'm working through. So 7 subjects, and then I decided which days or which subjects I wanted to do, like once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, and then I figured out what days I would do what. So in my calendar, it just says study hour, but then when I click into the event on my calendar, it says like 20 minutes business, 20 minutes productivity, 20 minutes Spanish or whatever. If I just see study hour in my calendar, I'm going to be like, I don't really know exactly what that means, so I'm just not gonna. I don't know what it is, it's just how we work. We need a bit of clarity on these things. So when it comes to your self-care, what I want you to do, and this is an action item from this Q&A, write out a self-care menu. Okay, so you might have different categories in there. You might have body internal, where it's like for how you actually feel physically. So taking a walk outside, drinking more water, having a healthy snack. Maybe you even make it a whole thing and like you follow a fun recipe for like some sexy stuffed peppers or something. Oh, I shouldn't have said sexy and stuffed in the same sentence. Maybe you have body external and it's all the beauty stuff. So like eye mask, face mask, hair mask, foot mask, hand mask, all the masks. Pluck your eyebrows, moisturize every crevice of your body, gua sha, you know, those kind of things where it's like you're actually doing your tan, doing your nails, like those things. If that's the only self-care we do, like it's a little too superficial and surface level. But let's be honest, it feels amazing to do those kinds of things. You feel so good afterwards, particularly if it's weaved in with the other 2. So like body internal and the next one, which is your mind. Like all of the mindset things, gratitude, meditation, EFT, affirmations, breath work, all of those kind of things. So I've already given you a ton of ideas, but I want you to write out a list for each of those categories. Maybe you want to give the categories cuter names because that's just like the way it's categorized in my mind. And which ones you know would really help you refill your cup, you know? And you could also have another category that's a bit more miscellaneous. Like I know for me, I always feel a lot more drained, exhausted, stressed out when I have a messy environment. And it feels so good to like clear a whole drawer or clear my desk and actually have everything in its rightful place. So maybe there's something like cleaning your environment. What was something else I just thought of there? Like reading a book, you know, all of those kinds of things. So I want you to brainstorm on that. That's going to be super helpful. And then when you go to have your self-care time, you actually have a list of things to choose from. Maybe it's already predetermined, depends on your personality. For me, it probably would be predetermined, but it's, yeah, something to think about there. And when it comes to when this self-care time actually happens, schedule it in. Schedule it in like it's a doctor's appointment. Like you would not have a doctor's appointment scheduled and then just like look at it on your calendar and be like, nah, not today. Like you would, you're gonna go, because sometimes those appointments are hard to get, and you want to treat it with the same respect. Like this self-care is not a negotiable thing. You want to schedule it in there as it is a non-negotiable, because it is, particularly if you're heading into a high activity, high impact, high intensity month. Okay, when they're on your calendar and you respect that calendar, you're more likely to honor them. So let's make sure we do that. And the other thing that I really want you to know here is that incorporating self-care is not something that needs to take like 3 hours. It can be a moment. Like, what do you do in the 5-minute breaks in between your 25-minute Pomodoros that could help you with mindset maintenance? Yes, it's so important to go deep and do like those longer sessions to really weed out the really sticky subconscious beliefs and stuff like that. But also that it's really important just to do a quick couple of minutes, like a quick round of tapping, to just keep on top of things. If you feel like, wow, I haven't considered the concept of self-care in about 6.5 months, then you're probably going to need a lot more of it and a lot more of that wind down time for it to be truly effective. Whereas if you're kind of keeping on top of it, it's like you're just good. Like you're consistently, you feel good unless something goes particularly wrong. So how can you incorporate really short bursts of self-care? Maybe it's just a couple minutes of deep breathing, being present, noticing, like, isn't there like, notice 5 things that you see, 4 things that you hear, 3 things that you smell, 3 things that you feel, 2 things that you smell, 1 thing that you taste, something like that. I don't know the specifics, but just it grounds you into the present moment, and it takes about 2 minutes. It's just like, that kind of thing. Maybe it's a quick stretch, maybe it is a quick round of tapping, maybe it is going outside and just breathing in the fresh air. A last note on this is just to pay a lot of attention to how you're actually feeling. Like, you could be in a stage, you could be in a season where you're like, good, I don't give a crap, like, let's go. And it actually feels like self-care to act, to make moves. But if you're feeling like, oh, I've woken up for a 5th day in a row and I don't want to get out of bed and I'm tired and I'm looking at my to-do list with a ton of resistance and I just don't want to do any of it, I'm fatigued, I'm feeling a little stressed, well then maybe it's time to take a bit of a rest. Like, maybe you finish your day early, not to look at your phone, but to have a nap, or meet a friend for a coffee, call a friend even, or just be outside, like lie down for a bit on the grass, walk around on the grass barefoot. You know how good that feels? Maybe you just need to do a bit of that. Maybe you need a bit of just, okay, an extra hour or so is gonna like have a massive impact when it comes to how you're actually feeling. So just be in tune to your body. You'll know if you're good to go, but you'll also know if you need a little more care. It's just as productive to rest sometimes. High intensity doesn't have to mean high pressure. It just means that you're working a lot smarter. Like, you're using your energy in the best way that you can to move you forward towards your goals. But that doesn't mean you have to abandon every part of how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next week for another epic episode of the Get Unbusy podcast. Bye. All right, gorgeous. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Get Unbusy podcast. If you got some juicy golden nuggets from this episode, I want to hear about it. So take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at More to Life Kate, because your girl wants to know. And remember, you're an absolute powerhouse. You can create the life you've been dreaming of, and I can't wait to see you pop off. Chat to you soon. Bye.